When my phone rang that Tuesday morning, I was sitting in Dr. Patterson's waiting room, trying to ignore the sharp pain in my lower back that had been bothering me for weeks. The screen showed my son Marcus's number, and my heart did that little flutter it always did when he called. Maybe he was finally calling just to check on his mama. Maybe he missed me. I answered with hope in my voice. "Hey, baby, how you doing?" But it wasn't Marcus. It was Lorraine, my daughter-in-law, and her voice had that cold, practiced sweetness she only used when she was about to say something she knew would hurt. "Hi, Mama Diane," she said, using that nickname that once made me feel included, but now felt like mockery. "We're leaving for our honeymoon tomorrow. Paris, can you believe it? Anyway, I'm calling because Marcus wanted me to tell you we already got married. Yesterday, actually, at the courthouse. It was just us and a couple of witnesses. We only invited special people." Special people. Those two words hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. I sat there in that uncomfortable green plastic chair, surrounded by sick folks and old magazines, and felt something inside me crack wide open. Not break, mind you, crack, like ice on a lake right before it shatters completely. Special people, I repeated, my voice sounding hollow even to my own ears. "Yeah, you know how it is. Small, intimate. Anyway, gotta run. We have so much packing to do. Love you. Bye." She hung up before I could respond, before I could ask why I'd spent $200 on a dress I thought I'd wear to my only son's wedding, before I could mention the $1,000 I'd saved up as a wedding gift, money I'd scraped together by skipping my blood pressure medication for 2 months. I looked down at my hands, these hands that had worked double shifts as a nurse for 30 years, these hands that had raised Marcus alone after his father walked out when he was 3, these hands that just last month transferred $500 to pay their rent because they were a little short this time, Mama. For 3 years, I'd been their safety net, their bank, their backup plan. $500 every single month for rent, furniture when they moved in together, groceries when Lorraine forgot her wallet, emergency money when Marcus's car broke down, emergency money when Lorraine needed a root canal, emergency money when they wanted to go to that music festival, emergency money that was always emergencies for them, but never emergencies for me. I did the math in my head while I waited for my name to be called. $500 times 36 months. That's $18,000 just in rent. Then there was the living room set I bought them last year, $1,200. The money for Lorraine's business venture that never happened, $800. The down payment from Marcus's car, $2,500. Birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, just because gifts. Over $25,000 in 3 years, and I wasn't special enough to attend their wedding? My name was finally called, and I walked into Dr. Patterson's office in a daze. She examined me, asked about my pain, and suggested physical therapy I couldn't afford because I'd been spending my retirement money on 2 grown adults who apparently didn't think I was special. "Miss Diane," Dr. Patterson said, concern creasing her brown face, "your blood pressure is elevated. Are you under stress?" I almost laughed. "Stress? No, doctor. I just found out I spent my golden years being a fool." That night, I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where Marcus had done his homework, where I taught him to read, where we'd celebrated every birthday with a homemade cake because that's all we could afford. I opened my laptop and went to Instagram, something I rarely did because it made me feel old and out of touch. But I had to see it. I had to know. And there it was, Lorraine's page, public for the whole world to see, her in a white dress that looked like it cost more than my monthly Social Security check, Marcus in a sharp navy suit I'd never seen before, and people, so many people. Her mama and daddy grinning like they won the lottery. Her two sisters, all dressed up. Her cousins, her friends from work. Even her hairdresser was there, for God's sake. 27 people in those photos. 27 special people. I counted them twice to make sure. I saw the cake, 3 tiers covered in white fondant. I saw the champagne. I saw the decorations, gold and white balloons everywhere. I saw them kissing while everyone clapped. I saw Lorraine's mama wiping away happy tears. And I wasn't there. The woman who gave birth to the groom wasn't special enough to witness him say I do. I sat there until 2 a.m. looking at those photos, each one a knife in my chest. In one photo, I could see someone had written, "Love you, Mom," on the condensation on Marcus's champagne glass. But it wasn't meant for me. It was for Lorraine's mama, who was beaming in the background. Something happened to me that night. Something I can't quite explain even now. It wasn't just hurt. It wasn't just anger, but it was clarity. Cold, hard, crystal clear clarity. I remember 3 months ago when I first met Lorraine. Marcus had brought her to Sunday dinner and she'd been all smiles and compliments. "Mama Diane, this mac and cheese is the best I've ever had. You have to teach me your secrets. Mama Diane, your house is so cozy and welcoming. Mama Diane, you're like the mother I always wished I had." I'd eaten it up like a starving woman at a feast. After years of it being just me and Marcus, here was someone who wanted to be part of our little family. Someone who called me Mama. Someone who hugged me tight and smelled like cocoa butter and vanilla. That first dinner, she'd help me wash dishes while Marcus watched the game. "You know, Mama Diane," she'd said, her voice soft and confiding, "I never had a strong mother figure growing up. My mama, she did her best, but she wasn't really there, you know? But you raised the good man all by yourself. That takes strength." I'd felt 10 feet tall that day, felt seen, felt appreciated. The next Sunday, they'd come over again. This time, Lorraine had brought her mama, a thin woman named Patricia, who looked me up and down like she was appraising furniture at a yard sale. She'd been polite but cold, barely touching her food, checking her phone every 5 minutes. "Your mother doesn't like me," I'd told Lorraine later, when we were alone in the kitchen. "Oh, don't mind her, Mama Diane," Lorraine had said, waving her hand dismissively. "She doesn't like anybody. You're perfect. You're exactly the kind of family Marcus and I need." Need. That word should have been a warning sign. But I was too happy to have a daughter to notice. Within a month, Marcus and Lorraine had moved in together. That's when the requests started. Small at first. "Mama, we're a little short on the deposit. Could you help us out? We'll pay you back next month." Next month never came. Then it was furniture. "Mama, we're sleeping on the floor. Could you just help us get a bed?" Then it was the rest of the living room set, because it would look weird to have nice bedroom furniture and nothing in the living room. Each time I said yes, because that's what mothers do, right? We help our children. We sacrifice. We give until there's nothing left to give. I'd learned that from my own mama, God rest her soul. She'd worked her fingers to the bone cleaning white folks' houses so I could go to nursing school. She'd worn the same 3 dresses for 5 years so I could have new textbooks. She'd gone without so I could have. And now I was doing the same thing. Except Marcus was 32 years old, not a struggling student. And Lorraine had a good job at the insurance company, same as Marcus had his job at the post office. They weren't poor. They were just comfortable letting me be. The monthly rent help had started 6 months after they moved in together. Mama, things are tight right now. Lorraine's car needed new tires and we had to get them fixed. Could you help with rent this month? Just this once? Just this once turned into every month for 3 years. I'd taken money out of my retirement savings, money my late husband Eugene had worked 3 jobs to put aside before he passed from a heart attack when Marcus was still in diapers. Eugene had wanted me to be comfortable in my old age. Instead, I was comfortable making sure my grown son didn't get evicted. Now, sitting at that kitchen table at 2 a.m., looking at wedding photos I was never meant to see, I thought about Eugene. What would he say if he could see me now? Would he be proud of how I sacrificed for our boy? Or would he shake his head and tell me I'd let Marcus use me? My phone buzzed. A text from Lorraine. Mama Diane, forgot to mention, we used some of that money you gave us last month for the wedding dress. Hope that's okay. You always say we want us to be happy. That money. The $800 I'd given them because Lorraine said she needed it for a root canal. A root canal that apparently never happened because her smile in those wedding photos was perfect and pain-free. I stared at that text message for a long time. At that heart emoji. So casual, so dismissive. As if my money, my sacrifice, my love was just something they could spend on whatever they wanted without even asking. That's when I realized something. I'd been so busy trying to be a good mother that I'd forgotten to teach Marcus to be a good son. And Lorraine, she'd never seen me as a mother figure at all. She'd seen me as a resource, a bank account with feelings that could be manipulated with the right words and the occasional hug. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in Eugene's old recliner, the one I'd kept, even though the leather was cracked and the stuffing was coming out. And I thought about every time I'd said yes when I should have said no. Every time I transferred money I couldn't afford to transfer. Every time I made excuses for why they couldn't pay me back. When the sun came up on Wednesday morning, I was still sitting in that chair. But I wasn't the same woman who'd sat down in it. Something had shifted inside me. Something hard and cold and final. My phone rang at 7 a.m. It was Marcus this time, not Lorraine. "Hey, Ma," he said, his voice cheerful, unbothered. "Did Lorraine tell you about the wedding?" "I did." Cool. Listen, Ma, I need to talk to you about something. The rent's due next week, and with the honeymoon and everything, we're gonna be a little tight. Can you? No. The word came out of my mouth before I even thought about it. Simple, final, complete. What? Marcus sounded confused, like I'd just spoken to him in a foreign language. I said no, Marcus. "Ma, what do you mean no? We need..." "What you need is to figure out how to pay your own rent, like adults, like the special people you are." There was a long silence on the phone. I could hear Lorraine in the background asking, "What's she saying? What's wrong?" "Ma," Marcus finally said, his voice taking on that wheedling tone he'd used since he was a boy when he wanted something. "Come on now. Don't be like that. We know you were probably hurt about the wedding, but Lorraine explained it was just a small thing. We didn't want to burden you with..." "Burden me?" The laugh that came out of my mouth surprised even me. It was harsh, almost cruel. "Baby, the only burden here is the $25,000 I've given you over 3 years while you treated me like I wasn't even worth a phone call to say, 'Mama, we're getting married.'" 25,000? Marcus sounded genuinely shocked. "Ma, it wasn't that much." "Want me to send you the bank statements? Because I got receipts, baby. every single transfer, every single time you called with an emergency that somehow became my financial responsibility. Lorraine grabbed the phone. I could hear the scuffle. Mama Diane, you're being very hurtful right now. We've always appreciated everything you've done. If you appreciated it, why wasn't I special enough to attend your wedding? She had no answer for that. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. That's what I thought, I said quietly. Now, I need to go. I have an appointment at the bank. I hung up before either one of them could respond. The bank opened at 9 a.m. I was there at 8:45, waiting in my car, watching Mr. Chen unlock the front doors. He'd been my banker for 15 years, had helped me set up Eugene's life insurance after he passed, had watched me carefully manage money that was supposed to last me through retirement. He smiled when he saw me walk in. Miss Diane, good morning. How can I help you today? I need to cancel all my automatic transfers, Mr. Chen, and I need to change my account so nobody else has access to it. His smile faded. Is everything all right? Everything is fine. I just need to make sure my money stays my money. We sat in his office for an hour. He pulled up every automatic transfer I'd set up for Marcus and Lorraine, the $50 monthly rent, the $100 grocery allowance I'd added last year, the emergency access I'd given Marcus to my savings account just in case. Ms. Diane, Mr. Chen said carefully, I've watched your account drain over the past 3 years. Every month, you're left with barely enough to cover your own expenses. I've wanted to say something, but it wasn't my place. Are you sure you want to do this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He processed the cancellations while I sat there, feeling lighter with each clip of his mouse. When we were done, my money was mine again. All mine. For the first time in 3 years, what came into my account would stay in my account. One more thing, I said. I want to open a new account at a different bank. Can you recommend one? Mr. Chen looked at me with something like respect in his eyes. I can. And Ms. Diane, good for you. I left the bank at 10:30. My phone had been buzzing nonstop in my purse. 17 missed calls from Marcus, 12 from Lorraine, 6 text messages, each one more desperate than the last. I sat in my car in the parking lot and read them. Marcus, Ma, we need to talk. This isn't like you. Lorraine, Mama Diane, please call us back. We're worried about you. Marcus, Ma, seriously, what's going on? Are you sick? Do you need us to come over? Lorraine, this is really immature, Mama Diane. We're family. Family helps each other. Marcus, the landlord just called. Rent's due Monday. Ma, you know we're counting on you. Lorraine, fine. Be selfish. See if we ever ask you for anything again. That last text made me laugh out loud. Be selfish. After 3 years of putting their needs before mine, after skipping my medication so they could go to music festivals, after eating ramen noodles so they could have steak dinners, after wearing the same 5 outfits for 3 years so they could have new clothes, I was being selfish. I drove to my best friend Vanessa's house. We'd been friends since nursing school, had raised our kids together, had held each other through divorces and deaths and disappointments. If anyone would understand, it would be Vanessa. She took one look at my face and pulled me inside. Baby, what happened? I told her everything. The wedding photos, the special people comment, the bank cancellations, all of it. Vanessa sat there shaking her head, her expression getting darker with every word. When I finished, she stood up and paced her living room like a caged tiger. Girl, I have been waiting 3 years to say this. 3 years. That boy has been using you. And that Lorraine, she saw you coming from a mile away. You're like a mother to me, Vanessa mimicked in a high-pitched voice. You're so special. She played you like a fiddle, Diane. Why didn't you say anything before? Because you weren't ready to hear it. Every time I tried to hint that maybe you were giving too much, you'd defend them. Marcus is just getting on his feet. Young couples struggle. That's what mothers do. You had an excuse for everything. She was right. I'd made excuses for 3 years, excuses for why they needed money, excuses for why they never paid me back, excuses for why I was always the one sacrificing. "What are you going to do now?" Vanessa asked. "I don't know, but I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to pay their rent, I'm not going to finance their lives, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it." My phone rang again. Marcus. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again. Lorraine. Then Marcus again. Then a number I didn't recognize. "They're not going to give up," Vanessa said. "Let them call. I got nothing to say." But on the fourth call from the unknown number, Vanessa grabbed my phone and answered it herself. "Hello? Oh, hi, Marcus. No, this is Vanessa. Your mama's phone? She's right here, but she's busy right now." "Busy?" "Yeah, busy realizing she's been taken advantage of for 3 years. Uh-huh. Well, maybe you should have thought about that before you got married without inviting her. Maybe you should have thought about that before you treated her like an ATM machine with feelings." She hung up and handed me back my phone. That should hold them for a minute. It didn't. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time, it was a video call from Marcus. Against my better judgment, I answered. Marcus's face filled the screen. He looked tired, stressed. Good. "Ma, please, we need to talk about this face to face. Can we come over?" "No." "Ma, Marcus, let me ask you something. When was the last time you called me just to see how I was doing? Not to ask for money, not to ask for help, just to check on your mama." He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. That's what I thought. You can't even remember, can you? "Ma, that's not fair. We've been busy." Busy enough to get married without telling me, busy enough to post 27 pictures on Instagram for the whole world to see, but not busy enough to invite your own mother. Lorraine's face appeared next to Marcus's. Her eyes were red, but I couldn't tell if she'd really been crying or if it was just for show. With her, everything was a performance. "Mama Diane, please, we made a mistake. We should have invited you. We're sorry, but you can't just cut us off like this. We have bills. We have responsibilities." "So do I, Lorraine. And my first responsibility is to myself." "But we're family," she said, her voice breaking. "You said we were family." Family doesn't exclude you from the most important day of their lives and then call you when they need rent money. I hung up. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, but I felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Free.
For 3 days, I didn't answer their calls. For 3 days, my phone buzzed like an angry wasp trapped in a jar. For 3 days, I slept better than I had in 3 years. On Saturday morning, I was in my garden, planting tomatoes like my mama used to do. There's something healing about putting your hands in dirt, about creating life instead of watching it drain away. I was on my knees, humming an old gospel song, when I heard car doors slam in my driveway. I looked up and my blood ran cold. Marcus's car. And behind it, a silver Lexus I didn't recognize. I stood up slowly, wiping my hands on my gardening apron, watching as Marcus and Lorraine got out of their car. Then a white man in an expensive suit stepped out of the Lexus carrying a leather briefcase. They walked up my driveway like they owned it, like they had every right to be there. "Ma," Marcus called out, his voice tight. "We need to talk. This is Mr. Harrison. He's a lawyer." A lawyer. My own son had brought a lawyer to my house. "What's this about, Marcus?" Mr. Harrison stepped forward, extending his hand. I didn't take it. "Miss Washington, I'm David Harrison. I specialize in elder care law. Your son and daughter-in-law have expressed some concerns about your recent behavior and would like to discuss get off my property. He blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. Get off my property. All three of you. Lorraine started crying, right on cue. Mama Diane, please, we're worried about you. You've been acting so strange, cutting us off without explanation, not answering our calls. We think you might need help. Help? I felt rage building in my chest like a fire. The only help I need is help keeping people who use me out of my life. Marcus stepped forward. Ma, listen, we've been doing research. Sometimes older people, they start making irrational financial decisions. It can be a sign of dementia or don't you dare. My voice came out like ice. Don't you dare stand on my property and suggest I'm losing my mind because I stopped letting you rob me blind. Mr. Harrison pulled out a folder from his briefcase. Miss Washington, we have documentation here of erratic behavior, sudden changes in financial patterns, cutting off family members without reasonable cause, social isolation. I want you to leave now. Ma, we're trying to help you, Marcus said, and he actually looked like he believed it, like he'd convinced himself that stealing from me was somehow for my own good. We talked to a doctor, Dr. Weinstein. He says that people your age sometimes need assistance managing their affairs. We could set up a guardianship just temporarily until you're feeling more like yourself. The words hit me like a slap. Guardianship. They wanted to declare me incompetent so they could control my money legally. A guardianship, I repeated slowly. You want to take control of my finances because I won't give you money anymore. It's not like that, Lorraine said quickly. We just want to make sure you're okay, that you're not being taken advantage of. The only people who've taken advantage of me are standing in my driveway right now. Mr. Harrison pulled out papers. Miss Washington, we're prepared to file a petition for emergency guardianship if necessary, given your recent erratic behavior and the concerns your family have expressed. How much are you paying him? I asked him directly, because I know Marcus and Lorraine can't afford fancy lawyers. They can't even pay their own rent. His expression flickered for just a second. Uncertainty. We're using a payment plan. Mr. Harrison was kind enough to what? Take your case because he thinks he can get a cut of my money once you get control of it? Mr. Harrison's face flushed. That's a serious accusation, Miss Washington. And trying to declare a perfectly healthy woman incompetent so her son can steal from her legally is what? A casual Saturday activity? I pulled my phone out of my apron pocket. I'm calling the police. You have 60 seconds to get off my property before I have you arrested for trespassing. Ma, please. 50 seconds. Lorraine grabbed Marcus's arm. Come on, baby. She's not going to listen. She's being completely unreasonable. 40 seconds. Mr. Harrison put his papers back in his briefcase. Miss Washington, this isn't over. Your family has legitimate concerns, and the court will... 30 seconds. And by the way, I have security cameras now. Everything you just said is recorded, including your threat to file false papers about my mental capacity. That made him pause. Those papers aren't false. We have evidence of... What? That I stopped giving my money away to people who excluded me from their wedding? That's not dementia, Mr. Harrison. That's common sense. I started dialing 911. They finally moved. Marcus looked back at me as they walked to their cars, his face a mix of anger and something that might have been shame if I was being generous. This isn't over, Ma, he called out. We're going to do what's necessary to protect you, even if you don't want to be protected. The only thing I need protection from is you. They drove away. I stood there in my driveway, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. Then I went inside and locked every door. I called Vanessa first. Then I called someone else, someone I should have called years ago.
Johnson Law Firm, how may I help you? My name is Diane Washington. I need a lawyer. My son just tried to have me declared incompetent so he can control my money. The receptionist's voice became crisp and professional. Hold, please. I'm transferring you to Miss Johnson right away. 3 minutes later, I was talking to attorney Michelle Johnson, a Black woman whose voice carried the strength of someone who'd fought these battles before. Miss Washington, I want you to know this is more common than you think. Adult children financially abusing their elderly parents, then trying to flip the script and claim the parent is incompetent when the parent fights back. Tell me everything. I did. Every detail. The 3 years of payments, the wedding exclusion, the special people comment, the lawyer in my driveway, all of it. When I finished, Miss Johnson was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Miss Washington, I'm going to take your case, and I'm going to make sure your son and his wife never get their hands on your money. But I need you to do something for me. What? I need you to get a complete medical evaluation, physical and mental. I want documentation from multiple doctors that you are in perfect mental health, because they're going to try to paint you as confused, senile, incompetent. We need to show the court exactly who you are. A strong, clear-minded woman who finally said no to people who were using her. I can do that. Good. And Miss Washington, one more thing. Don't communicate with them anymore. Not by phone, not by text, not in person. Everything goes through me now. Can you do that? Yes, ma'am. Perfect. I'll email you a contract and my fee structure. I'm not cheap, but I'm worth every penny. And Miss Washington, we're going to win this. After I hung up, I sat in my living room and cried. Not sad tears, angry tears, relieved tears, all of it mixed together. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Ma, I'm sorry it came to this, but you're not thinking clearly. We love you. We're trying to help you. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded the text to Miss Johnson with the note, "Is this useful for our case?" Her response came back immediately. Very. Keep forwarding me everything they send you. They're building our case for us. That evening, Vanessa came over with her sister Patricia and her cousin Ernestine. 3 strong Black women who'd been through their own battles with family, with money, with betrayal. Girl, I went through something similar with my daughter 5 years ago. Let me tell you what you're up against. She told me about court dates and evaluations and accusations, about how her daughter had tried to paint her as senile because she wouldn't keep financing her drug habit, about how she had to prove her competence to a judge who looked at her like she was already guilty. But I won, Ernestine said firmly, because I had documentation, I had witnesses, and I had a good lawyer who believed me. How long did it take? I asked. 6 months from filing to final judgment. 6 months of hell, but worth it. Because now my daughter knows she can't use me anymore. We have a relationship now, but it's on my terms, not hers. 6 months. Half a year of fighting my own son in court. Half a year of being called incompetent and confused and senile. But what choice did I have? Let them win? Let them declare me incompetent and take control of everything Eugene had worked for? Everything I'd saved? I'll fight, I said quietly. For 6 months or 6 years. I'll fight. Patricia raised her glass of sweet tea. That's what I'm talking about. To strong Black women who don't take no mess. We all raised our glasses. To strong Black women, we echoed.
Monday morning, I sat in Dr. Patterson's office for what felt like the 100th time. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't there because something was wrong with me. I was there to prove something was right with me. Miss Diane, Dr. Patterson said, reviewing the paperwork Miss Johnson had sent over. Your lawyer wants a complete cognitive evaluation. Memory tests, problem-solving assessments, the whole 9 yards. Because my son thinks I've lost my mind for not giving him money anymore. Dr. Patterson looked up sharply. Is that what this is about? I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing harder with each detail. Let me tell you something, she said when I finished. I've been your doctor for 12 years. I've watched you manage complex medication schedules for other people when you were still working as a nurse. I've seen you handle your late husband's estate with perfect clarity. You are one of the sharpest 70-year-old women I know. This evaluation is going to prove exactly that. The tests took 3 hours. Memory games, math problems, identifying patterns, answering questions about current events, drawing clocks, repeating sequences of numbers backwards. Perfect score, Dr. Patterson announced at the end. Your cognitive function is not just normal for your age, Miss Diane. It's exceptional. I'm putting that in writing, and I'll testify to it in court if necessary. Thank you, doctor. Don't thank me. I'm just telling the truth. And Miss Diane, what your son is doing, that's elder abuse. Financial exploitation. I'm a mandated reporter. I should report this. My lawyer's handling it, but I appreciate you. From there, I went to Dr. Chen, the psychiatrist Miss Johnson had recommended. Another round of questions, another evaluation, another perfect score. Miss Washington, Dr. Chen said, you're not just competent. You're making the healthiest decision you've made in years. Setting boundaries with people who exploit you isn't a sign of mental decline. It's a sign of mental health. By Wednesday, I had 4 medical evaluations, all saying the same thing. Diane Washington was of sound mind, sharp memory, and excellent judgment. Miss Johnson called that evening. Miss Washington, their lawyer filed the guardianship petition today. We have a court date in 3 weeks. That fast? They filed for emergency guardianship, claimed you're a danger to yourself, that you've been giving away money to strangers and refusing medical care. I laughed bitterly. The only strangers I gave money to were them. Don't worry, we have their lies in writing now, and we have the truth in your medical records. How are you holding up? I'm tired, but I'm not backing down. Good, because it's about to get worse before it gets better. She was right. That night, Marcus and Lorraine showed up at my church during Wednesday night Bible study in front of the whole congregation. I was sitting in my usual pew, 3rd row from the front, when I heard the commotion at the back. People turning around, whispering. Then I saw them walking down the center aisle. Pastor Williams stopped mid-sentence. Can I help you, young man? Marcus's voice carried through the sanctuary. I'm here for my mother, Diane Washington. We're concerned about her. She's not been herself lately. Every eye in that church turned to me. 75 people who'd known me for 30 years, who'd watched me raise Marcus alone, who'd celebrated with me when he graduated college, who'd prayed with me when Eugene died. I stood up slowly. Pastor Williams, I apologize for this disruption. My son and his wife were just leaving. Ma, please, Marcus said, his voice breaking. We love you. We're worried about you. People have been telling us you're acting strange, paranoid. We just want to help. Lorraine dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Mama Diane, please, let us take you home. Let us take care of you. Sister Ernestine stood up from the row behind me, then Sister Vanessa, then Sister Patricia, then Mother Jenkins, who was 92 and didn't stand up for much of anything anymore. Young man, Mother Jenkins said,
her voice surprisingly strong. "I've known your mama since you were in diapers. Ain't nothing wrong with her mind, but there's something wrong with the son who brings this mess into God's house." "We're just trying to," Lorraine started. "To take her money," Sister Vanessa cut in. "We all know what this is about. You got married without inviting her. Now you mad she stopped paying your bills?" Marcus's face flushed. "That's not, you don't understand." Pastor Williams raised his hand. "Son, I think you need to leave. You've disrupted our service, and you've disrespected your mother in front of her church family. Whatever issues y'all have, this ain't the place." "But Pastor—" "Now, son." Two deacons stood up and walked toward them. Marcus and Lorraine left, but not before Lorraine turned and hissed at me, "You turned everyone against us. You're poison." After they left, Pastor Williams called me up front. In front of the whole congregation, he said, "Sister Diane, we want you to know something. We see you, we know you, and we stand with you." The whole church said, "Amen." I broke down crying right there at the altar. But they were good tears this time. Tears of feeling seen, feeling supported, feeling loved for who I was, not what I could give. After service, at least 20 people came up to me, offering to testify if I needed witnesses, offering to help with legal fees, offering prayers and support and love. "Sister Diane," Deacon Morris said, "my daughter tried to pull this same mess on me 5 years ago. I got a good lawyer. You need his number?" "I got a lawyer, but thank you." "Good. Don't you back down. What they're doing, that ain't right, and God sees it." When I got home that night, there was a package on my doorstep. No return address. I opened it carefully. Inside was a stack of papers, legal documents, and a note in Lorraine's handwriting. "Since you want to play hardball, here's what you're up against. We have witnesses, we have evidence, and we're going to win. You should have just kept helping us like a good mother." I called Miss Johnson immediately. "They left something at my house. Don't touch it anymore. I'm coming to get it. That's evidence of harassment." She arrived 20 minutes later, gloved hands carefully bagging everything. "Miss Washington, they're making mistakes, big ones. Harassment, intimidation, showing up at your church. All of this helps our case." "Why does it feel like I'm losing then?" "Because you're in the hard part, the part where you stand alone and everyone tells you you're wrong. But you're not alone. And you're not wrong. In 3 weeks, we're going to prove that." The morning of the hearing, I put on my best navy blue suit, the one I'd worn to Eugene's funeral, the one I'd saved for important moments. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a woman who'd survived 30 years as a nurse, raised a son alone, buried a husband, and refused to be broken by betrayal. "You got this," I told my reflection. Miss Johnson picked me up at 8 a.m. In the car, she went over our strategy one more time. "They're going to try to paint you as confused, isolated, and making irrational decisions. We're going to show the court a clear-minded woman who finally stopped enabling financial abuse. Let them talk first. Let them show their hand. Then we strike." The courthouse was cold and sterile, all gray walls and fluorescent lights. Marcus and Lorraine were already there with Mr. Harrison, sitting on a bench outside the courtroom. Lorraine looked nervous. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. "Don't engage," Miss Johnson whispered. "Not even a glance." We walked past them like they were strangers. Inside the courtroom, Judge Reynolds sat behind his bench, a black man in his 60s with gray temples and sharp eyes that missed nothing. That gave me hope. He'd understand what they were trying to do. "We're here for the matter of Marcus Thompson petitioning for emergency guardianship of Diane Washington," the clerk announced. Mr. Harrison stood up. "Your Honor, we're seeking emergency guardianship due to Mrs. Washington's recent erratic behavior and concerning financial decisions that put her at risk." "What kind of behavior?" Judge Reynolds asked. Your Honor, Mrs. Washington has suddenly and without explanation cut off all financial support to her son and daughter-in-law. For 3 years, she helped them with rent and living expenses, then abruptly stopped, changed her bank accounts, and refuses all contact with her family. We believe she's being unduly influenced by outside parties. What outside parties? Neighbors, friends, possibly even her attorney. We have witnesses who can testify to her changed behavior and paranoid statements. Judge Reynolds looked at me. Mrs. Washington, how old are you? 70, Your Honor. And are you being influenced by anyone? No, sir. I made my own decisions, with my own mind. We'll see about that. Mr. Harrison, call your first witness. Marcus took the stand. My son, my baby, swearing to tell the truth before God and man, then preparing to lie about me. Mr. Thompson, Mr. Harrison began, how long have you been concerned about your mother's mental state? About 2 months. She started acting different, hostile, wouldn't return our calls. Then she cut off all the financial help she'd been giving us. And this help, was it voluntary? Yes, sir. She insisted on helping us, said she wanted to. We never asked for it. I almost stood up. Never asked? Every request was an ask. Every emergency was a demand. But Miss Johnson put her hand on my arm. Wait. What happened when you tried to talk to her about your concerns? She refused to see us. Then when we came to her house with our lawyer to discuss options, she threatened to call the police. She put cameras all over her house, like she's afraid of us, her own family. Do you love your mother, Mr. Thompson? More than anything. That's why we're here. We just want her to get help. Miss Johnson stood up. I have questions for this witness, Your Honor. Proceed. She walked toward Marcus slowly like a lioness approaching prey. Mr. Thompson, you testified that your mother voluntarily helped you financially. How much did she give you over 3 years? I don't know exactly. Let me help you. According to bank records, $26,847. Does that sound right? Marcus shifted uncomfortably. If you say so. And you never paid any of it back? We were going to when we got on our feet. You've been on your feet for 3 years, Mr. Thompson. You and your wife both work full-time jobs. Why couldn't you pay your own rent? We had expenses. Like a wedding? A wedding you didn't invite your mother to? The courtroom went silent. Marcus's face flushed. We wanted something small. Small? There were 27 people in the photos on Instagram. Your mother-in-law was there, your wife's sisters, your wife's friends, everyone except the woman who'd given you $26,847? Is that correct? We made a mistake. And when your mother stopped giving you money after that mistake, that's when you decided she was incompetent? No, that's not. Mr. Thompson, when was the last time you called your mother just to check on her, not to ask for money, just to see how she was doing? He opened his mouth, closed it. Nothing came out. I'll take that as never. No further questions. Then it was Lorraine's turn. She dressed conservatively, trying to look concerned and caring, but Miss Johnson tore through her testimony like paper. Miss Thompson, you told my client she was like a second mother to you. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Yet you didn't invite her to your wedding? We wanted something intimate. But you invited your own mother, your sisters, your cousins, and your hairdresser? How was that intimate? And after the wedding, when you needed rent money, who did you call? Mama Diane. So she's mama when you need money, but not special enough to attend your wedding. Do I have that right? Lorraine started crying. Real or fake, I couldn't tell anymore. We made a mistake. We're trying to make it right. By declaring her incompetent and taking control of her finances, we're trying to protect her. From what? From keeping her own money? Judge Reynolds interrupted. Miss Johnson, I think you've made your point. Any other witnesses? Mr. Harrison called their neighbor, Mr. Davis, who testified that I'd been acting strange and putting up cameras like I was in a war zone. Miss Johnson destroyed him in 3 questions. Mr. Davis, have you ever had a conversation with Mrs. Washington about why she installed security cameras? No. Have you ever had any conversation with Mrs. Washington beyond saying hello? Not really. So your testimony is based entirely on watching her house from across the street. Well, yes, but no further questions. Then it was our turn. Miss Johnson called Dr. Patterson first, who testified about my perfect cognitive evaluation, then Dr. Chen, who explained that my decisions showed mental health, not decline. Then she called Vanessa. Mrs. Parker, how long have you known Mrs. Washington? 42 years, since nursing school. And in your observation, has her mental capacity declined? Not even a little bit. If anything, she's sharper now than she's been in years. She finally woke up to what was happening to her. What was happening to her? Her son and his wife were using her, treating her like an ATM. And when she finally said no, they tried to claim she was crazy. But she ain't crazy. She's clear-minded, finally. Then Miss Johnson called me. I walked to the stand on steady legs, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. And I did. I told the whole truth, every dollar, every broken promise. Every time I'd skipped my medication so they could go on vacation. Every time I'd eaten ramen so they could have steak. The wedding photos I found on Instagram, the special people comment that broke my heart. Mrs. Washington, do you love your son? Yes, ma'am. I always will. Then why did you stop helping him? Because helping him was killing me. And because it wasn't helping him at all, it was enabling him to use me. I loved him enough to stop. When I stepped down, I looked at Marcus. For the first time since this started, he was crying. Real tears. The judge didn't even leave to deliberate. I've heard enough. This petition for guardianship is denied. Mrs. Washington is clearly competent. What I'm seeing here is an adult son upset that his mother stopped financing his lifestyle. That's not incompetence. That's good judgment. Case dismissed. The gavel came down like thunder.
Outside the courthouse, Marcus caught up with me as I walked to Miss Johnson's car. Lorraine was still inside, probably crying to Mr. Harrison about their loss. "Ma, wait, please." I stopped, but didn't turn around. Miss Johnson stood close, ready to intervene if needed. "Ma, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted it to go this far. Lorraine said it was the only way, that you weren't thinking clearly, and You believed her over me." I turned to face him then. "Your wife of 6 months, over your mother of 32 years? I was scared, Ma. Scared we'd lose everything. The apartment, our stuff, our life. We built everything on the foundation of your help. And when you took it away, you built everything on my money, Marcus. Not on your own work. Not on your own sacrifice. On mine. And when I stopped bleeding myself dry for you, you tried to have me declared insane." "I know, God, Ma, I know. I messed up. We messed up, both of us. Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. I saw the little boy who used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. The teenager who'd cried on my shoulder when his first girlfriend broke his heart. The young man who'd promised at Eugene's funeral that he'd always take care of me. But I also saw the man who'd excluded me from his wedding, who'd brought a lawyer to my house, who'd humiliated me in front of my church, who'd stood in a courtroom and lied about me. I forgive you, Marcus, because that's what mothers do. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back to how things were. What does it mean then? It means we start over, from scratch. No money between us, no obligations.
Just two people trying to figure out if we can have a real relationship, one that's not built on me giving and you taking. I can do that. I want to do that. Can you, though? Can Lorraine? He looked back at the courthouse where his wife was still inside. I don't know, Ma. Honestly, I don't know. Then you need to figure that out because I'm done being used by anyone, even you. I got in Miss Johnson's car. As we drove away, I watched Marcus standing alone in the parking lot, looking lost. You did good in there, Miss Johnson said, and you did good just now. Setting boundaries with people you love is the hardest thing in the world. Does it ever get easier? No, but it gets necessary, and you're strong enough to do what's necessary. That night, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Miss Washington, this is Patricia Brooks, Lorraine's mother. My whole body tensed. What do you want? I want to apologize for my daughter, for what she did to you. I didn't raise her to be like this, but somewhere along the way, she learned that using people was easier than working for things herself. You knew what she was doing? I suspected. I saw how she talked about you. Mama Diane this, Mama Diane that. It was always about what you could do for them, never about who you were. I tried to tell her it was wrong, but she wouldn't listen. And when she convinced Marcus to file that guardianship thing, I told her she'd gone too far. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know that not everyone in this situation thinks you're wrong. You did what you had to do. And honestly, I wish I'd done the same thing years ago when Lorraine started this pattern with me. She did this to you too? Patricia laughed bitterly. Honey, where do you think she learned it? She drained me for years before I finally said no. That's when she moved on to you. I'm sorry I didn't warn you. I thought maybe with Marcus, she'd be different. But a leopard don't change its spots. We talked for another 20 minutes. Patricia told me about Lorraine's history of manipulation, of finding people with good hearts and bleeding them dry. How she'd done it to her grandmother, her aunt, even a former employer who'd had to fire her for stealing. Miss Washington, my daughter needs help, professional help, but she won't get it until she hits rock bottom. You did the right thing by not catching her fall. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet of my living room. The house felt different now, lighter, like I'd opened windows that had been closed for years. The next Sunday at church, Pastor Williams called me up during service. Sister Diane, the church family wanted to do something for you. We took up a collection to help with your legal fees. He handed me an envelope. Inside was $3,200. I started crying right there in front of everybody. I can't accept this. Yes, you can, Mother Jenkins called out from her pew. We take care of our own, and you are our own. The congregation said amen. Over the next few weeks, my life settled into a new rhythm. I started going to a support group for people dealing with financial abuse from family members, heard stories that made mine seem small, met people who'd lost everything to children, siblings, even grandchildren, who saw them as resources instead of people. The hardest part, a woman named Grace told the group, is learning that love shouldn't cost you everything, that real love doesn't come with a price tag. I started volunteering at the senior center, helping other elderly folks understand their rights and protect themselves from exploitation. Turned my pain into purpose. Vanessa and I took that trip to New Orleans we've been planning for 10 years, but kept postponing. I used some of Eugene's insurance money, the money I'd been hoarding in case Marcus needed it. Turned out, I needed it more. We ate beignets, listened to jazz, walked through the French Quarter, laughed until our sides hurt, remembered what joy felt like. You look 10 years younger, Vanessa told me on our last night there. I feel it. I feel like myself again. The self I was before I started defining myself by how much I could give away. Marcus called me once a week. We had short, careful conversations. He told me they'd moved to a smaller apartment they could actually afford, that Lorraine had gotten a second job, that they were in carriage counseling. The counselor says we built our whole relationship on your money. He told me during one call that we never learned to struggle together or work together. We're trying to figure out who we are without you as a safety net. That's good, Marcus. That's growth. It's hard though, Ma. Real hard. Most worthwhile things are. 3 months after the court case, Marcus asked if he could come visit. Alone. Lorraine won't be there? No, Ma. Just me. If that's okay. It's okay. He showed up on a Saturday afternoon with a small plant, a peace lily. For your garden, I remembered you always liked these. We sat on my porch, drank sweet tea, and talked. Really talked. For the first time in years, maybe ever, we had a conversation that wasn't about money or emergencies or what I could do for him. Ma, I need to tell you something. I'm thinking about leaving Lorraine. I stayed quiet, letting him work through it. The counselor made us do this exercise where we list what we love about each other. Ma, I couldn't think of anything that wasn't tied to convenience or comfort. I don't know if I ever really loved her, or if I just loved how easy she made my life by getting me to use you. What does she say about that? She says I'm being influenced by you, that you're turning me against her. But Ma, I'm not 15. Nobody's influencing me. I'm just finally seeing clearly.
6 months after the court case, I was having coffee with Vanessa when my phone rang. Unknown number. I'd learned to answer them now without fear. Ms. Washington, this is Detective Morris from the Fraud Division. We need to talk to you about Lorraine Thompson. My heart sank. What did she do? She's been arrested for embezzlement from her employer, $50,000 over 2 years. During our investigation, we found a pattern. She's done this before, multiple times. We're building a case, and we need to know if she ever stole from you. I thought about the $800 for the root canal that paid for a wedding dress, the emergencies that were never emergencies, the way she'd manipulated Marcus into manipulating me. Detective, I can't prove she stole from me, but I can tell you she convinced my son to take $26,847 from me under false pretenses. Does that count? It might. Can you come down to the station? I did. I gave a statement, showed them bank records, text messages, everything. Ms. Washington, Detective Morris said when we finished, you're lucky you cut her off when you did. This woman is a professional. She finds vulnerable people and bleeds them dry. Your son was just her latest accomplice. Marcus called me that night, his voice broken. Ma, they arrested Lorraine at work today. Said she stole money from the company. Ma, what's happening? The truth is happening, baby. The truth about who she really is. But I love her. I married her. Do you love her, or do you love the idea of her? The version of her she let you see? Silence. Then quietly. I don't know anymore, Ma. That's okay. You don't have to know right now. But Marcus, you need to understand something. You can't save her. Just like you couldn't save me from her. People like Lorraine, they don't want to be saved. They want to keep taking until there's nothing left to take. 2 weeks later, Marcus moved back home. Not into my house, but into an apartment 3 blocks away. A small studio he could afford on his own. No help from me, no safety net. I'm doing this myself, Ma, he told me as we carried boxes up 3 flights of stairs. For the first time in my adult life, I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I'm proud of you, baby. I should have done this years ago, before I let her turn me into someone who could hurt you. We ordered pizza that night and sat on his floor because he didn't have furniture yet. He didn't ask me to buy him any. That was growth. Ma, can I ask you something? Anything.
Do you think you'll ever trust me again? Really trust me? I looked at my son. He'd lost weight, had circles under his eyes, looked older than his 32 years. But there was something in his face I hadn't seen in a long time. Humility, genuine remorse, the beginning of wisdom. Trust isn't something you get back all at once, Marcus. It's something you rebuild, brick by brick, day by day, by showing up, by doing right, by being honest, even when it's hard. I can do that. I want to do that. Then we'll get there, eventually. A year after the courthouse, I was at the senior center teaching a class on financial protection when a young woman approached me. She was maybe 25, thin, nervous. "Miss Washington, I'm Sarah. I'm a social work student. I heard about your case, about how you fought back against financial abuse from your own family. I'm writing my thesis about elder exploitation, and I wondered if you'd share your story." I did. I told her everything, and she recorded it, typed it up, used it to educate other social workers about warning signs and intervention strategies. "Ms. Washington," she said when we finished, "you're a hero. Do you know how many elderly people just give in, just let their families take everything because they're afraid of being alone?" I'm not a hero, baby. I'm just a woman who finally said enough. That's what makes you a hero. My story ended up in her thesis, then in a journal, then someone from a nonprofit called and asked me to speak at a conference about elder rights. Me, speaking at a conference, at 71 years old? I said yes. Standing in front of 200 people, mostly social workers and lawyers and advocates, I told my story about the $26,847, about the wedding I wasn't invited to, about the special people comment that changed my life, about the courtroom and the victory and the long road to healing. The hardest thing I ever did, I told them, wasn't standing up to my son in court, it was standing up to myself. Admitting that I'd confused enabling with love, that I'd let fear of being alone make me accept being used, that I'd taught my son he could treat me however he wanted as long as he occasionally said, "I love you." When I finished, they gave me a standing ovation. People came up afterward with tears in their eyes, saying I'd given them courage to set boundaries with their own families. One woman, maybe 60, grabbed my hands. "My daughter is doing to me what your son did to you. I've been giving her money for 15 years. I'm broke. I'm tired, but I didn't know how to stop. Now I do. Thank you." That's when I knew. My pain had purpose. My story had power, not just for me, but for every person who'd ever loved someone enough to let them destroy them. Marcus and I had dinner once a week now. He always paid, insisted on it. Sometimes we talked about heavy things, about his divorce from Lorraine, about the restitution he was trying to make, and about his therapy and his growth. Sometimes we just talked about the weather and football and what was happening at his job. We were learning each other again, as adults, as equals, not as ATM independent. "Ma," he said one night over catfish and collard greens, "I need to tell you something. I'm dating someone new. Her name is Kenya. She's a teacher. She doesn't know about my past, about what I did to you, and I'm scared to tell her." Tell her anyway. If she's worth keeping, she'll understand that people can change, that you're not who you were. What if she runs? Then she runs. But Marcus, you can't build something real on hiding who you were. You gotta own it. All of it. The good and the bad. He told her. She didn't run. 3 months later, he brought her to meet me. Kenya was lovely, smart, kind. And when Marcus stepped away to take a phone call, she leaned over and said, "He told me what happened, what he did to you. I just want you to know I would never let him do that to you again. And I'd never do it myself. I got my own money. I don't need his, and I sure don't need yours." I liked her immediately. On the 2-year anniversary of the court case, my church threw me a surprise party. They called it a freedom celebration. Pastor William stood up and said, "Sister Diane taught us something important. She taught us that love without boundaries isn't love at all. It's servitude. She taught us that saying no to people who hurt you isn't mean. It's survival. She taught us that you can forgive someone and still protect yourself from them." I looked around that room, at Vanessa and Patricia and Ernestine, at Mother Jenkins, now 94 and still going strong, at the young women from the senior center who I'd helped protect their own money, at Marcus and Kenya, sitting together, his hand in hers, at my tribe, my real family, the people who loved me for who I was, not what I could give them. These were the special people. "Thank you," I said when they asked me to speak. "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for standing with me when I had to stand alone. Thank you for teaching me that I was always special. I just had to believe it." That night, I went home to my quiet house, made myself a cup of tea, sat in Eugene's old recliner. "We did it, baby," I said to him, wherever he was. "We raised a man who made mistakes, big ones, but also a man who's learning to do better. That's all we can ask for." I opened my laptop and checked my bank account. For the first time in 5 years, I had money saved. Real savings, money that was mine and staying mine. I had plans for that money, a trip to Ghana, new furniture, maybe even a little house at the beach one day. But tonight, I just had peace. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Love you, Ma. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when you gave me every reason to." I typed back, "Love you too, baby. Proud of who you're becoming." And I meant it. My name is Diane Washington. I'm 72 years old, and I finally learned that the most special person in my life had to be me.